official has been indicted by a grand jury. We are learning that through two different sources from our producer, Hannah Rabinowitz at the Justice Department. And we have confirmed that the grand jury was in today with the lead prosecutor on that case, the same prosecutor who had been on some of the documents of the search of Bolton's house just 2 months ago, or not even 2 months ago, a prosecutor who also has some experience in investigating these sorts of things. He was a prosecutor that was also working on the Biden classified documents handling investigation that led to no charges. But in this situation, the bulk of this case, it's been going on for several years, and our understanding is that it's about John Bolton's use of an email account with AOL, an email account where he was writing diary-like notes and summaries of his time as National Security Advisor to himself, at times even sending them to his wife and daughter. And that is the sort of thing that the Justice Department does say frequently, not just in the climate of a Trump administration, that that's something that you should not do. We have seen many charges like this before of other high-ranking officials, and that also with John Bolton in those search warrants, and what we're very likely to see in court going forward is that the Justice Department saying he should have known better. Casey? But this AOL account, that's another thing that has had a long history of being investigated, both by people in the Biden administration, career prosecutors, as well as career prosecutors still in the District of Maryland in this administration. And the arc of that investigation, it came to the Justice Department because John Bolton, his email was hacked by a foreign government. And during the intelligence collection around that, as far as we know from our sources, it became clear to the American federal government that there might be stuff in his email account that probably shouldn't have been kept in an unsecured way.
And a Justice Department official who spoke to the Post says the case against Bolton is, quote, airtight. Now, he's accused of using his private email account to remove sensitive information and to record a kind of digital daily diary of his activities and assessments during his time as a national security advisor.
In those unsealed search warrants, they do recount basically what they received or they obtained during those searches of Bolton's home. That includes documents that were marked classified, confidential, also disk drives, and this all stems, according to that search warrant, from an investigation that began after the United States became aware that a foreign entity had hacked Bolton's AOL accounts. Now, that's really important because that would indicate that maybe a foreign entity that did hack that account came upon the exact type of classified information, and that would obviously pose grave potential concerns if he actually did have highly classified information on his AOL account.
He was just indicted by a grand jury in Maryland. Do you have a reaction to that?
I didn't know that. You tell me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
The case against him?
That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what?
Have you reviewed the case against him?
No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person.
Was it intentional or sloppy? Because some of the documents were even marked secret, confidential, classified. Some reportedly had to do with weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this list, Liz, I haven't seen the indictment, but I've seen a list of the classified material that was seized. I mean, you're talking about everything from weapons of mass destruction to military launches, covert operations, intelligence operations, sources and methods. I mean, the list goes on, and it is truly stunning if it is true. And it is a clear violation of the Espionage Act. The focus has been threefold. Physical documents with classified markings in Bolton's possession. Number two, private notes on his AOL account that allegedly contain classified information. And finally, some published material from his book that was not pre-approved as the law requires. The AOL account itself is really problematic because it was hacked by a foreign adversary, according to an intelligence assessment that was included in the warrant affidavit. And if true, that only supports the case against Bolton, because that's precisely what the Espionage Act was designed to protect. And, it doesn't matter if it was willful or sloppy, because under the law, it's a crime either way, intentional or negligent. That's how the Espionage Act reads. And to hear Abby Lowell say, oh, well, these are documents that are decades old. So what? It doesn't matter if they're still classified.
Right, exactly.
But I'm told that they discovered some things that made them suspicious that he had been mishandling classified information. This was in the Biden administration. The case did not go forward then, though, in part because of concerns about revealing that access that the U.S. had to that foreign government. The Trump administration had a different calculation. They decided it was okay to reveal that access. They've done that now. They're moving forward with the case.
That they believe John Bolton may have violated two provisions of the Federal Espionage Act that has to do with people who either have lawful possession of or unlawful possession of information that's in the national defense of the United States, information that could, in the hands of a foreign entity, become damaging to the United States. Not necessarily classified, but if you keep that information, transmit that information, or even lose that information, you could be prosecuted under 18 U.S.C. 793. That's the first of the statutes. The second has to do with classified information itself. That's 18 U.S.C. 1924A. That is a very serious offense, as are provisions of the Espionage Act. And I should note, one of the provisions mentioned on these search warrant affidavits with respect to John Bolton, that is one of the charges against President Trump in the Mar-a-Lago documents.
Talking about this very point, I cannot say, Casey, how many warnings you get as a young Justice Department attorney about the handling of classified information. And that includes don't email things to yourself. Don't take your notes out of the room. Do not write on classified or sensitive documents, because every time you alter or manipulate a document, you could be exposing yourself to trouble. Do not show things to other people. Do not share things with other people. You can only look at certain things in certain rooms. And more than anybody else, again, John Bolton, innocent until proven guilty. But if there's any human being who ought to know better about sharing information, it's him. Now, again, it remains.
Elliot makes an excellent point, Casey. The training is just so... people are inundated with these warnings: don't share, don't email. And if he came out of maybe HHS or EPA, he could possibly raise some defense that I didn't know, but he was the National Security Department. I mean, ignorance of the law, which doesn't work anyway half the time, is going to be no excuse in this case. And I'm going to steal a word from Elliot. It's either his stupidity, and he is not a stupid man, so it's probably his arrogance that led to this, if in fact he did it. I can't say enough. The fact that he's indicted does not mean anything. He's presumed innocent, but it doesn't look good. This is a 5-year investigation, and warrants were authorized by federal judges for his residence and his office, and the prosecutors handling this are the U.S. attorney's a President Biden appointee with a long history in the Department of Justice, and the line prosecutor is from the National Security Division, who worked on other cases.
You know, if Donald Trump were an honest man, if he were an innocent man, he'd be saying, I want the trial within 30 days. I want this cloud removed from over my head. I want this stain on my reputation removed.